bit hit and miss. The X10 arrived with much fanfare but was a bit disappointing, largely down to the fact that they never got round to updating the operating system. And the other additions to the range, well, they were neither here nor there if we're entirely honest. But knowing Sony Ericsson, we wouldn't have thought that they'd be willing to go down without a fight. And that's exactly what they haven't done with the Xperia Play, which is the PlayStation phone to me and you. Now, if you're a gamer or a phone fan, you'll have no doubt heard of this phone because it seems to have been being talked about for donkey's years. Well, today we've got a hands-on one and we're going to have a look at it, especially for you. Well, the wait's finally over and I've actually got one here in my hand. We're going to have a proper look at the design of it, its operating system, how it holds up on the multimedia front, and of course, how it works as a top-end gaming device. We know you're probably quite eager to get onto the gaming stuff, but it might be an idea to have a look at the design of it first, because at the end of the day, you don't want a high-end, top-of-the-range smartphone which plays like a top-of-the-range console, but looks like a knackered old Mega Drive, do you? So it's in keeping with the rest of the Xperia range, so we've got that nice, black, shiny plastic finish, a 4-inch TFT touchscreen, which will come in handy when you're playing those games. But the handset is a bit chunky, but it does fit nicely in the palm of your hand. As you'll be able to see, tucked away under that 4-inch screen, the original iconic PlayStation controller makes a reappearance. Now, it has been altered slightly so that it fits into a phone, but gamers will be able to recognise those iconic buttons. So we've got the X, the circle, the square and the triangle, your D-pad, but the analog DualShock controllers which feature on the original PlayStation controller have been replaced by 2 touch-sensitive directional pads. On the top of the phone we've got those left and right shoulder buttons, although you only get 1 of each here, not 2 like you get on the original PlayStation controller. We all know that the PlayStation business is the main focus of this bit of kit, but you also might be wondering, how does it actually hold up as a phone? Well, you'll be pleased to hear that Sony Ericsson haven't just concentrated all their efforts on getting the gaming aspect spot on, and they've actually managed to produce a blower that's more than capable of holding its own against some tough smartphone opposition. The Xperia Play runs Android 2.3. Well, it's not really that surprising that the little green robot would be a gaming fan. Well, anyway, because it runs along on Google's latest variant of their operating system, all the stuff you get on normal Android phones are present. So you've got your 5 customisable home screens, Sony Ericsson's Timescape makes a reappearance, we've also got a link to the Android market. Because it's a PlayStation phone, they've also included a link to something called the PlayStation Pocket, which is pretty similar to the Android marketplace, but it's the place you go to get all of your games and whatnot. When using the phone, we also realised that it was quite rapid. Now, this could be something to do with the fact that it runs the fastest version of Google's operating system yet, or also because it's powered by a 1 GHz processor, which Sony Ericsson reckon makes it twice as fast as an iPhone 4. That's pretty swift. Aside from all that gaming goodness, which we're going to have a look at a bit later, the Xperia Play works hard at doing all the kinds of things that smartphones can do. Stuff like playing back media content. Now, the media player they've bundled in is well laid out and easy to use, and it'll no doubt come in handy if you're stuck in front of a boring nil-nil draw, because you can be listening to your tunes, playing back your videos, or reliving past glories. The bundled web browser zips through web pages like a tricky winger through a shaky defence, and because it supports Flash, you'll be able to watch back all them scorches your team have banged in, either using the dedicated YouTube app or on one of the many websites that carries highlights. Right, now for the good bit. Most smartphones these days are capable of playing games of some description, but not many do it quite as well as the Xperia Play. Because it's an Android phone, you'll still be able to download and play the many touchscreen games available, such as Angry Birds and whatnot. But why you'd want to do that when you've got the full might of a PlayStation nestling within your phone is anybody's guess. Now, not only does the Xperia Play come bundled with all them PlayStation chops, it also comes pre-installed with 5 games. Bruce Lee Dragon Warrior, The Sims, Asphalt Racing, Star Battalion, and EA's FIFA. More games are available from the PlayStation Pocket App Store, which we told you about earlier, and here you'll be able to browse and download a load of different top titles. Now, these games aren't like the ones you can pick up from the Android Market Store, which often look like they've been coded by a 14-year-old in his dinner hour. No, these ones are properly Sony PlayStation sanctioned titles, which look and play exactly like their console counterparts. Inside this thing are 2 separate processors, one to look after all the phone stuff and a dedicated one which just sorts out all the gaming side of things. Now, the gameplay's that immersive and impressive, and the graphics are so good, you often forget that you're playing on a 4-inch screen. Was it worth the wait? In a word, yes. We were quite sceptical at whether Sony Ericsson would be able to pull it off, but they've certainly managed it with this one. PlayStation fans will be impressed with the faithful reproduction of the PlayStation experience, whilst phone fans will be